Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast of wrestling. I am your host, Money Mike, and today I will be reviewing NXT Takeover 30 and SummerSlam 2020. We have a lot to get to. We have some big news coming out of NXT Takeover 30 in regards to a major injury, which may lead to a vacating a title, and a major return to SummerSlam as the big dog Roman Reigns made his shocking return. And after taking a leave of absence from WWE due to the ongoing pandemic back in March. So a lot to get to here. Let's go ahead and get this going with the NXT Takeover review. Now, on the kickoff show, it was Breezango against Legado del Fantasma and Danny Lorcan and Danny Burch and Oni Lorcan, number one contender tag team title on the line. The winner will face Emporium at a later date. And I said in my predictions, I thought maybe the team of Ernie Lorcan and Danny Burch would win. And I said that, it would be nice to see Breezango win. I think, and WWE listened. Breezango got the win. Breezango got the win here. So, it's going to be interesting to see when they get their title shot at Emporium. Hopefully they win the titles now. Let's go all the way with it, WWE. Breezango definitely deserves this opportunity to win the tag titles. I think what WWE needs to do is trying to get them away from kind of being a comedy team and being more serious. So hopefully with them being in the tag title picture, that we can get a more serious Breezango. The main show kicked off with Timothy Thatcher versus Finn Balor. Finn Balor got the win here in what was a good match for what it was. Finn Balor here, again, it did kind of surprise me he wasn't in the North American Championship match to begin with, but as I will talk about that match coming up, I actually did like the fact that we didn't have a lot of veterans in the match. But Finn Balor gets the win here. I do wonder what's next for Finn Balor, as he's just straddling along there, facing off against people. I do wonder if his with NXT UK coming back, is Finn Balor going to go and have a feud with Walter? As they were teasing that before the pandemic happened, that was supposed to have been happening. So I do wonder if that's what's going to be the case. Is Finn Balor going to go after Walter, or is he going to maybe go into the NXT Championship picture, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Io Shirai defeated Dakota Kai here. This was a respectable match. I said this in my predictions. The women of NXT continue to put on solid matches every week, every takeover, and to me, for Io Shirai got the win, so I do like that. Even though we knew it was obvious, Io was going to win, Dakota looked good in the defeat, so hopefully that won't be the last of Dakota Kai in the NXT Women's Championship picture. Now, they did tease something with Rhea Ripley and Dakota Kai's bodyguard, and I'm drawing a blank on her bodyguard's name, but perhaps we'll see something there. And who will challenge Io next? It's going to be It's going to be interesting to see who is going to challenge Io next for the NXT Women's Championship now that Dakota Kai has had her shot. So, Io retains there. Now, before I go into this next match, I'm going to go ahead and play a clip from my predictions video because, well, I'm about to eat some serious crow. So, take a look at what I said last on my predictions video about Adam Cole versus Pat McAfee. This is a Raw or SmackDown main roster move. This is a Vince McMahon move. You know, Triple H has never needed celebrities. Never needed celebrities for NXT. You know, I believe in 30 NXT takeovers. This is the first time that we have seen celebrity involvement in NXT. NXT has never needed that. NXT's never needed that extra mainstream attention that Vince McMahon craves for Raw and SmackDown. Triple H never needed that because the wrestlers in the ring told the story. The wrestlers were able to sell you on wanting to see if they were a bad guy. They were able to sell you on the fact that, yeah, you want to watch Takeover to see that person get their butt kicked. Descriptions out of this. So, you know, bringing in celebrities, things like that, you know, I've never been a fan of that. You know, I know a lot of people are saying that, you know, I've never heard of Adam Cole, but because of him doing this feud with Pat McAfee, I know who he is. Well, the question I have for those who are saying that, are you going to keep watching NXT? Because if you're not a wrestling fan and you're just tuning in just because Pat McAfee is facing somebody, are you going to tune out? You know, are you going to subscribe to the network to watch it? Or are you just going to read the results? Yep. I was wrong. 100% in the wrong. When I made the predictions video, when this whole thing started, as you can see in the prediction video, I completely hated this whole idea. I thought Adam Cole needed to be in the North American Championship match. I thought maybe they should have done a rematch with Adam Cole and Keith Lee. But I was proven wrong. For what Pat McAfee did in that match. Now, obviously, I don't know how long he was training. They said on commentary it was like a couple weeks, but it felt like he belonged. Like, the crazy part about this match is that Pat McAfee looked like he belonged. Like he looked like a star in that match. It's like he has the look of a wrestler. He has the look of someone that can be a star in the wrestling business if you wanted to continue down that path. And Adam Cole gets the win. I thought maybe Pat McAfee would get the win because all the celebrities always get the win, but good to see that actually Adam Cole got the win here. It's kind of weird. I should have been paying attention more to the build-up because Pat McAfee seemingly kept getting the best of Adam Cole in the build-up, and then Adam Cole gets the win in the match. So, to see what Pat McAfee did in this match, I mean, it blew me away. Everything he did. I mean, there was a point where he did like this big leap to the top of the turnbuckle. I mean, it was just freaking amazing. And then he does this backflip onto like everybody on the outside. I mean, everything about that match. I take everything back that I said in my predictions video. I take back. I apologize to Pat because I said he shouldn't be in. This should not be happening. This is a mainstream kind of Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, Vince McMahon type of move that, we need celebrities and, we need mainstream attention and all that stuff. And honestly, I was proven wrong. I was proven wrong by McAfee because he looked like he did belong in the ring. And I will say this. I mean, if he wanted to take it seriously and actually train to become a wrestler, then I think he has all the tools to be a successful wrestler / sports entertainer, whatever phrasing you like to use. Wrestler, sports entertainer. I think Pat McAfee could easily, as he showed in that match against Adam Cole, he shows that he can be a star in the ring if he wants to make that a full-time career. Now, we have a new champion. Carrion Cross defeats Keith Lee for the NXT Championship. And I know there will be some people saying that, look, Keith Lee had a short reign. I mean, the one thing I'll give credit to is this. In my predictions video, I said that this was happening too soon. I felt like Keith Lee was going to win. I thought Keith Lee was going to win. It didn't surprise me that Cross did win the match, but I thought it was happening too soon because I kind of looked at Brody Lee and Brian Cage getting World Championship matches against Jon Moxley, where it was like man, it's too soon for those matches, because it just felt like, because they were just fed to Jon Moxley, which ruined all the momentum that they had. And I mean, obviously Brody Lee now is the TNT champion in AEW, as he just squashed Cody Rhodes, but WWE did exactly what AEW wanted to do. They presented a match that may have been happening too soon, Cross versus Keith Lee, and they pulled the trigger. And they gave Cross the title. And I liked that because, it wasn't like, okay, we're going to throw him in the wolves and then he's going to lose and then that's it. Because that kind of felt like what happened with Brian Cage and Brody Lee, where they fought Jon Moxley and then that was it. And they just kind of fell out, or at least for Brody Lee, they fell out of the picture there. But I do think now that essentially Karrion Kross, with you being your new NXT champion, man, I gotta tell you, just look at this I want you to look at this picture here. I don't know which way I should point here, but I think it's this side here. I think it's this side that I'll put the picture on. But just look at that. Like, this whole, Karrion Kross has the presentation, the look, the gimmick to be a main star, to be a superstar, a future world champion on Raw or SmackDown. I mean, when you watch the entrance and you look at the presentation of him and Scarlett, and just everything about it screams future world champion. Universal champion, WWE champion. It screams future world champion. I mean, look, we know the booking is, they have to survive the booking, the main roster booking in order to not look to it, in order to continue their momentum from NXT. But Cross, to me, has everything to be the WWE or the Universal Champion. Keith Lee, to me, I don't want to say it's a short run. I don't want to be mad that he had a short run. I think Keith Lee had a good run in NXT. I think Keith Lee, to me, he's another guy on the main roster that is going to be a future star for the WWE on Raw or SmackDown. I mean, you look at Survivor Series last year, where the reaction he got when he was facing off against Roman Reigns. I mean, I think to me right now, the main roster future is bright and limitless. Pun very much intended. So, unfortunately, this wrestling is not ballet. And Carrion Cross did suffer a shoulder separation. Now, as of this video, there's not been an update announced yet, but it will absolutely suck if he has to vacate the title, because that would just ruin the momentum that he gained from winning, that he's had since debuting in NXT, where he's been winning against like all these guys like Ciampa, and he's been just unstoppable force. Like the minute he debuted and you first saw that entrance, like you knew that he was going to be a star. And this injury, he said it was a shoulder separation. He said, Cross said, hopefully, it's not going to keep him out for long. So, with NXT not having show pay-per-views every month, they could easily kind of just hold him off TV, let him heal until like the next Takeover, which I think would be around Survivor Series in November. So maybe WWE will hope that he will be healed by then, and they won't have to vacate the title. That would absolutely suck if he has to vacate the title. But let's go ahead and move on to SummerSlam, because, like I said, SummerSlam inside the Thunderdome. The Thunderdome with virtual fans. It felt alive. It felt like the present, everything about it felt unique. It felt like the way it was, like it was before the pandemic. Like just to have the fans virtually there, reacting and things like that. It felt like you were watching a wrestling show again. Because without the fans, you're kind of just like, you're watching it, but there's no crowd reaction. And it's kind of dull a little bit. It hurts the product. It hurts the on-screen product for somebody watching it. But I thought, the virtual fans were alright. It was a good thing. And so hopefully we'll have to see how this works going forward. But SummerSlam 2020, one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year. This is probably one of the most forward I've looked forward towards a pay-per-view. This was a pay-per-view that I looked forward to watching. So much hype, so much, like I said, so much hype, so much intrigue going into the match, and into the show. So let's go ahead and go over SummerSlam. So the pre-show saw Apollo Crews retain over MVP. The that'll be interesting to see what will happen. If at one point will MVP, will Apollo Crews eventually join up with the Hurt Club, or business, whatever it is. But again, it's good to see here, and you have MVP, a veteran. He's putting over a young guy in Apollo Crews. Good to see here for Apollo, because he really wasn't doing much, and they finished it with Apollo becoming the U.S. champion, and it's good to see MVP put over a young talent like Apollo Crews. We'll have to see where it goes. Will there be an alliance between them at some point? We'll have to see. On the main show to start SummerSlam, it was Bayley defending the SmackDown Women's title against Asuka. Now Asuka is going into SummerSlam with 2 championship matches. She has a chance to become a double champion. Asuka 2 belts. Alright, so in this match here, everything about this match was fantastic. Bayley and Asuka have great chemistry in the ring. These two just had good back and forth. The storytelling, you have Sasha getting involved, which led to Bayley retaining the title over Asuka towards the end. So you saw Sasha sacrifice herself in order to help Bayley, and that will come into play in the Raw Women's title match later on. But Asuka now has the Raw Women's title, which I kind of figured would be, I just spoiled it, but Bayley did retain the SmackDown Women's title, and considering that, Asuka did get the Raw Women's title later on the night, we'll see how that plays into Payback next week. So the Street Profits retained the Raw Tag titles over Garza and Andrade. I said I wouldn't be surprised if Andrade and Garza won, but the Street Profits retained in what was a solid match, I thought. And we'll have to see, who will be the team to take the titles from the Street Profits. And I think we need, at WrestleMania, just have a bunch of red cups come dumping down into the arena, into the stadium, for their WrestleMania entrance. When we get fans and we're back in WrestleManias and in a big stadium. And just have the red solo cups be a big part of the presentation, and to see the cups coming down during the entrance, it feels good again to see wrestling actually going back to the normal presentation that we're used to. Again, to be out of that performance center, it just felt so different. Last night it felt like things were returning to normal. Obviously, we're not returning to normal from a realistic from reality standpoint, but it just kind of felt like the normal presentation that we're used to, special entrances, things like that. So being in the Amway Center for the next few months will definitely be a big help for WWE. Loser leaves WWE. Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. Now, this was originally a hair versus hair match. It was changed to a loser leaves WWE on SmackDown because Sonya said she was tired of looking at Mandy, and it wasn't about the hair, and she just wanted to get rid of Mandy. She put her own career on the line because in order to try to get rid of Mandy, she came up short. A lot of good match. This to me actually kind of overperformed for me because I wasn't expecting much in terms of a match, and it was better than I thought it would be. So Mandy Rose did get the win, and Mandy and Otis celebrated at the end. So, again, I'll talk about Otis in a little bit, but man, he's gotta do something with that briefcase, dude. Seth Rollins versus Dominique Mysterio. So my predictions in this video were like completely almost wrong, but like Seth, like, to me, this was one of my favorite matches of SummerSlam. Probably my favorite match because the story that it told in between, like or throughout the match. When you have Rey Mysterio out there and you have Seth Rollins kind of beating down on Dominic, and Rey he wants to help his son. As a father, he wants to help his son. He doesn't like seeing his son get beat up, and and Dominic kept yelling, "Stay down, stay down, like get down." Like, he kept telling his father to not get involved in the match. And the story, just with that, and then you get his wife involved, where the beating, like towards the end of the match, where the beating is so bad, and like to the point where she comes out and she's worried, and then Rey has to try to console her, and then at one point, they handcuff Seth and Murphy handcuff Rey Mysterio to the ring rope, and then Angie, his wife, who came out, Seth, whatever he had in mind, I don't know what he had in mind. Obviously, whatever he had in mind was for the greater good. He started to walk up the ramp towards Rey's wife, Dominique's mother. Dominique, was able to get the comeback. And Dominique, in his first match, again, for what Pat McAfee did in his match against Adam Cole, Dominique having his first match again, and what he did with Seth Rollins, both of them just knocked it out of the park in their first match. It was unbelievable. Dominique, to me, it was just unparalleled, because for Seth Rollins to say, you know what, I want to work with this kid, I think that to me says volumes of, the kind of star that Dominique, or that Seth sees that Dominique can be in WWE. Seth Rollins explained in an interview that he was given a list of opponents, and obviously, of course, in kayfabe, if the WWE champion is on the list, you're going to say, yeah, I want Drew McIntyre. But obviously, out of the realm of kayfabe, to see Seth actually be willing to work with Dominique and to help put him over the way he did, Dominique looked good in defeat. Like, the entire story of the match was so good. To include Rey, include his wife, Dominique's own mother, everything about that to me was what pro wrestling's about. It's the story in the ring, and it's about the wrestlers telling the story and making you believe what you're watching, and making you hate somebody for what they're doing. And obviously, when you see Seth go and start walking up the ramp to Rey's wife, Dominique's own mother, obviously it's like what does he have in mind? And you hate him. It's just like, he has something evil planned. But just everything. This is my favorite match of the night for SummerSlam, because to me this just is everything that is good about pro wrestling, and everything that pro wrestling should be. And kudos to Seth Rollins for saying, you know what, yeah, I can face Drew McIntyre. I could face, so and so. I could face this person. For him to say, I want to fight Dominique. I want to have his first match. I want to be his first opponent. That to me speaks volumes, not just about the man behind the character Seth Rollins, but also speaks volumes for what he sees in Dominique as a future star in the company. Um, Again, Seth Rollins gets the win here. Seth, again, based off of what we see with Drew McIntyre retaining the title, are we going to revisit Seth and Drew going forward after this? Because I thought maybe Dominique would win. I thought it would be like a surprise roll up, like shock victory, and then Seth would do something to get his heat back or whatever. But now that Seth won, that leads me to believe that kind of that told me that Drew was probably going to retain the title. But let's go ahead and get into that while I mention Drew McIntyre. So the WWE Championship match, Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton. This here was a solid match. Again, going back to what I said about the story here was, who could hit their finishers first. The Claymore kick, that's essentially a move that can be out of nowhere. The RKO is out of nowhere. So it was and we got to see early on in the match where they were doing these reversals, where they were getting out of the way. They were escaping their finishers, and each man would try to get their finishers, but they couldn't do it. And that to me played so well into the match, so back and forth. I thought this is actually this is probably Drew's best match as WWE champion. At least in my opinion. I don't know about you guys, but you guys can leave that comment in the comment section below on how you think Drew has been as WWE champion. So I'm glad they haven't pulled the trigger on Randy Orton being the champion yet. I thought they would have, but I was like, you know what? If I get this wrong, then I'll still be happy because I want to see Drew keep the title. If you look at the rumors online, it's like Randy Orton versus Edge, and Randy's going to be the champion. Like, when you hear that and you kind of look at it and you go, well, does that really need the title? I mean, they can always put the title on Randy later, but it's going to be. But again, I think Randy Orton and Edge doesn't need a title, and I'm really impartial to like Seth Rollins beating Drew McIntyre, and then Edge coming back to win the Royal Rumble, and having Edge versus Seth Rollins for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. Edge, he was the very first cash-in. Seth Rollins is, to this day, still the only person to cash in at WrestleMania. So you have like those two kind of colliding there. I think that would be a perfect WWE Championship match at WrestleMania. And especially if it still happens in Hollywood. I mean, that's a good Hollywood ending right there for Edge. For him to come back from injury and win the WWE Championship. I mean, you can always revisit Randy Orton after he went for the title, after Edge wins it or whatnot. But, I mean, I'm impartial to Edge and Rollins for the title at WrestleMania, but I'm glad to see Randy Orton is still not the champion, even though I do expect him to get the championship at some point, probably. Not now, but maybe, maybe not Survivor Series, because the whole brand warfare, but maybe the Royal Rumble where Orton will get the title, and then Edge will come back in the Rumble and then be the Rumble winner, and then he'll challenge Orton or something like that. Maybe that will happen. I don't know. So I mentioned earlier, Asuka won the Raw Women's title. And I mentioned that, in the SmackDown Women's Championship match, Sasha sacrificed herself in order to. She basically took a fall for Bayley, which allowed Bayley to capitalize and get the win from Asuka. Now, in this match here, and again, another fantastic match with Asuka and Sasha. I mean, I think their first ever match they had on Raw, I think maybe over a year ago. I know that was really talked about of how well that match was and how great it was. I mean, to me, I think you put Asuka in there with anybody, I think you can get a great match out of it. But again, from earlier in the night, Sasha playing up, the whole Asuka's leg. Like there was so much here, and then towards the end, Bayley, Asuka goes and run into Bayley. Bayley actually moved out of the way, like she was not willing to take the fall for Sasha, like Sasha did for Bayley. Sasha sacrificed herself in order to help Bayley. Bayley moved out of the way when Asuka went to hit her, and that ultimately ended up costing Sasha. Sasha tapped out. Asuka is your Raw Women's Champion, and Sasha and Bayley have to make up because they got to defend those Raw Tag titles or the Women's Tag titles next week at Payback. And last but not least, here to close out this show, SummerSlam review and NXT Takeover review. The Universal Championship match between The Fiend and Braun Strowman. Now this match here was definitely underwhelming. Let me just say this. It wasn't like when you see the build up to this match, you think it's going to be this great match. And it was great. I mean, it was a good match. I'm not going to say like great match, 5-star match, things like that. But it was a good match for what it was. It was a Falls Count Anywhere match, which didn't really take advantage of the stipulation as much as I thought they would. They did battle to the back a little bit in the gorilla, and nothing really happened there. And then they kind of came back out to the ring. One of the things that I liked about the Stadium Stampede match that AEW did at Double or Nothing was that they knew they had an entire empty stadium for use. So they made use of the entire stadium. Like, they brought in the suites. They brought in, like, all these different parts of the stadium in the stands. And to me, you have an empty arena. You're at the Amway Center, so now you're in an actual arena. So you have this big enough layout where it's like, okay, you can have Braun and the Fiend brawl in different places of the arena. Now, I mean, obviously, if you needed to tape some stuff or whatever, but, you could have had them battle into the concourse, especially without no fans. You actually had the entire concourse in the arena available for use to brawl in. Could have went to, brought into the bathroom, the locker room area, even outside into the parking lot. Like, to me, WWE did not take advantage of the Falls Count Anywhere stipulation as much as I thought they should have. The Fiend did win the title. He is now a 2-time Universal Champion, which puts him in the same credit, I think, as Brock Lesnar. I think Brock is 2, maybe has 3 Universal Championship reigns. But I believe right now he's one behind. I think he's either tied or he's one behind Lesnar in Universal Championship reigns. But the story wasn't the match. the story was after the match. But let me get to Alexa Bliss here. So one of the things here was they kept saying the tagline, "You'll never see it coming." So that to me that gave me so much intrigue into what could happen in this match. And with Alexa Bliss's involvement, was Alexa going to help the Fiend? Was she going to help Braun Strowman? Is she going to help the Fiend and become Sister Abigail? Nikki Cross did an interview where she's, in character, and she said, Alexa's been different. She hasn't been the best friend that I've known. And I thought they would play more into that with, like, Nikki getting involved. But nothing happened. Like, this, to me, was, like, the biggest, the surprise here was Alexa Bliss was not involved in this match. After they used her in the build-up and everything, like, I don't know if maybe they just decided to, like, just not do anything with it, or they changed plans. They didn't want Alexa involved beyond it, or what, beyond SummerSlam. But like you're going to tell the story of, like, Alexa and Braun, and you're going to use her in the build up, and then, like, nothing happens that involves her. This is a big letdown, because, like, I was sitting there thinking, you'll never see it coming. They kept saying the tagline, "You'll never see it coming." And, and I even was thinking for a second, like, here we are thinking Alexa Bliss is the one that's going to get involved, and Alexa's going to be helping the Fiend or Braun. But what if it was Nikki Cross? You'll never see it coming. What if it was Nikki Cross that would have, turned on Alexa and she became Sister Abigail? Just something that would have added anything to the match. I mean, just from that element. I mean, the lack of Alexa Bliss in this match after using her in the build-up, to me, was very disappointing. But after the match is what we're going to be talking about, because when you leave your home and you come back home and you don't like who's running the yard, you have to take back the yard. I know that was a very bad reference, but the big dog is back. Roman Reigns made his shocking return last night at SummerSlam. Roman Reigns, after the Fiend won the Universal Championship, Roman Reigns came in with a big spear, taking out the Fiend. Then he went to the outside. He took out Braun Strowman. He grabbed the steel chair, and he started whacking Braun Strowman with the chair over and over and over. Like, and I'm sitting there watching this, and I am intrigued. WWE, do not mess this up. You had a chance. You have a new chance with Roman Reigns to make us forget about the Super Cena you wanted him to be. All the superhero, Super Cena comparisons. You now have new life here. Because whatever that Roman was that appeared at SummerSlam was the Roman Reigns that we should have gotten 5 years ago. Now, you teased this a couple years ago when Roman Reigns, I believe it was TLC, I believe it was, where he lost the championship match. Sheamus beat him because of help of the League of Nations, and Roman was angry. I don't cuss on this channel, alright? So I can't say that other word, but Roman was angry. He was furious. He snapped. And it was like, and mind you, this was a crowd that was, I believe this was in Boston. I believe it was one of those big wrestling mark cities. But like at the end of the match, where Roman he snapped, he's beating up on everybody in the League of Nations. You see Triple H come out as an executive. He comes out, he's trying to calm down Roman. Roman Reigns takes out Triple H. And the fans were behind him. The fans were cheering him. And, the next night on Raw, when he's confronted by Stephanie McMahon, Stephanie says, apologize. Roman said, no, I'm not apologizing. The fans were behind him. Then, of course, they screwed all that, all that momentum. Everything about that was how Roman should have been booked in the beginning. A complete, total Samoan, bad bleep, that just goes out there and just kicks, destroys anybody in sight to get to the top. He didn't need to be the super, another John Cena that WWE desperately wanted him to be. What we all saw SummerSlam was a Roman Reigns that did not care. Whether it was the Fiend or Strowman, he did not care who it was, who was the champion. I'm going to go and I'm going to take back my yard. And he beat down both men. Absolutely solid, great way to end the show. The entire show from start to finish for SummerSlam was fantastic. Then you add a Roman Reigns returning at the end. Again, you'll never see it coming. I don't know if many people expected Roman Reigns to come back. Obviously, with Roman Reigns, we know, he's dealing with leukemia. And obviously, with health issues, he's at a greater risk. So nobody thought that we would see him. Especially since we're still dealing with this whole entire situation. I was not expecting him back until November, maybe even January, maybe a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble. Just because I thought he would stay at home until this was at least, somewhat taken care of in a way where it was safe for him to come back, and that he wasn't going to be put at risk, and things like that. So to see Roman come back and to be whatever that Roman Reigns was, you have a chance. Build off of that, and you're going to get the fans to cheer Roman. Now, he doesn't need to be a face or a heel. He doesn't need to be designated. Just be a tweener. Let him go out there and beat the crap out of whoever he wants, whether it's a face or a heel. This is Roman Reigns to me right now. If you're going to build off of what he did at SummerSlam, then you need to be at this point. I mean, let's look at this for a second here. When he was the Universal Champion to 2018. All right, and listen. I've seen people say, "Oh, Roman Reigns shouldn't be near the title picture." The dude hasn't been in the title picture since 2018. He hasn't won a title since 2018. And you know how he lost that title? He didn't lose the title. He had to vacate it because of his leukemia battle. And he hasn't been near a title picture since. Even when he came back, he was dealing with Shane McMahon. He was, doing all these other things that was not the title picture. And then he was set to be in the Universal title match at WrestleMania. And then this happened. Then the pandemic happened. And so that took away another opportunity from him. And it seems like, and even go back to 2016 when he got suspended for a drug violation. He didn't lose it. He lost the WWE Championship to Seth Rollins. But it seems like Roman to me, it seems like every time he's in position to win, to actually, to be built right and to be built right, it's something happens that takes it away from him. And Roman at this point, the type of character he needs to be is, I've had my opportunities, my championship taken away from me. And not from anything, not from anybody in the back, not from being pinned, not from, things like that. It was just, things are out of my control. Now I'm in control, and I'm going to beat whoever I have to beat to get back my Universal Championship. So, again, he's never really lost the title. He's never been pinned for the Universal Championship. So for him, that Universal Championship is still his. So, now I think, to me, WWE has a great shot here at giving us a new Roman Reigns that we have not seen. And if they capitalize on it, I believe that Roman Reigns will succeed and will be successful when we get the fans back. And I think the fans can even get behind this new Roman and this type of character. I think, to me, if they can keep the momentum going with what Roman did at SummerSlam and they build on that, to me, they have something in the making. That was my SummerSlam review. If you liked that, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. Tell me what you thought about SummerSlam 2020 and NXT TakeOver 30. Again, Pat McAfee, I apologize. You surprised me. You did much better than I thought for someone that was just, as I said in my predictions video, a celebrity that didn't need to be there. So, Pat, I am sorry. And I am intrigued by what happened at SummerSlam. And I'm actually looking forward to what will happen on Raw and SmackDown moving forward. And I cannot, and you know what, before I leave, oh yeah, I can't believe I forgot to mention this. Keith Lee is moving to the main roster. So Keith Lee is moving to the main roster. Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw is now limitless. They ran an ad. They ran a little promo during SummerSlam where they said, "Hey, Keith Lee is debuting on Monday Night Raw." So, again, it's going to be interesting to see how Keith Lee does do on the main roster. Will he survive the booking? And man, there's so much talent there on that main roster. Man, I really hope we get a Keith Lee Brock Lesnar match at some point. I mean, that's a WrestleMania match, so I mean that would be great to see. But Keith Lee moving to Monday Night Raw, he's going to be the next call up for Monday Night Raw. We'll see if anybody goes this Friday Night SmackDown as well. And again, I've been Money Mike. This has been the Podcast of Wrestling. And if you liked the video, subscribe for more of the Podcast of Wrestling. And coming up, a new Front 7 podcast, which is my NFL talk show, where I will be talking my predictions for the 2020 NFL season. So until then, take care.